Welcome to the Center for a Humane Economy press conference. If you are wanting news on beagles, this is the right place. So thank you very much for joining us. We'll just let everyone get settled for another 15 or 30 seconds before we start, but just wanted to orient you that you're in the right place if you are looking for the Center for Humane Economy press conference about beagles. Well, great. So, good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast or in the Central time zone or even in Mountain now, and welcome to any others on the West Coast or if we have any other press outlets from other countries. I'm Wayne Pacelli. That's Wayne, Wayne, and then Pacelle. I'm president of the Center for a Humane Economy. And we're here today. We've got several special guests. We have Congressman Nick Langworthy from the 23rd Congressional District in New York, a member of the Energy and Commerce Committee, which is the authorizing committee for health policy in the United States. We have Debbie Gibson, who is a pop star and tremendous animal advocate. She was on the ground at Ridgeland, and we're delighted to have her. And we also have Shannon Keith, the president and founder of the Beagle Freedom Project, which is working with the center and really handling the animal care responsibilities in this piece. And Shannon and her organization have tremendous experience in dealing with beagles being treated at laboratories and taking them from those settings and transitioning them to safe homes. So I'm delighted to have my three compassionate beagle advocates with me and very, very grateful to them. Let me start with the top line news is that we worked with a number of organizations and first and foremost with an organization in Florida, a dog rescue organization, Big Dog Ranch Rescue. And we negotiated an agreement with Ridglan Farms in Blue Mounds, Wisconsin, to remove 1,500 beagles, which is the bulk of the beagles that were at the facility to our understanding, through an agreement where we paid money for the beagles. And we did so because we wanted them to have a safe future. We wanted them in loving homes with caring people for the remainder of their lives. But we also did it because we knew that this part of the business was winding down. Through a settlement agreement with the state prosecutor, the company was no longer going to be involved in selling beagles. So we didn't feel that we were contributing money to a business that had any future. And this was an action to prevent a fire sale of the dogs to laboratories. So as part of that initial agreement, we said that we would keep talking with Ridgeland and that we wanted all of the beagles. So today we're announcing that the Center for Humane Economy and Big Dog Ranch Rescue are now procuring an additional 135 dogs. And we're very happy about that. And that means 1,635 dogs by the end of this week will have been removed from Ridgeland Farms and put onto a pathway of very safe living and caring people around them, people who are obsessively caring about them in the best sort of way. So I'll come back to that, but I know that Congressman Langworthy, who read about this issue on social media, his wife, his daughter, has gotten very involved, and it's so heartening to me to have him involved. He's a very serious-minded U.S. lawmaker. He's very effective. He is a member of the Energy and Commerce Committee, which has a health subcommittee on which he serves that deals with legislative policy in this entire space. He's also on the Rules Committee, which is a very important committee in terms of the traffic of legislation and what amendments get considered. So, Congressman Langworthy, thank you again for your work on this issue, your outspoken advocacy for animal welfare. And I think that this whole Ridgeland Farms issue, which has burst onto the national stage and has attracted the interest of tens of millions of Americans, it would be a shame if it ended at the 1,635 dogs being rescued. This is just illustrative of a larger pipeline that exists of dogs into testing and research at a time when we have alternatives. And I know that you are, going to tell us a little bit about your plans, and I'm eager to work with you. We at the Center for Humane Economy are eager to work with you, and we thank you for thinking of policy solutions so that we're dealing with this much larger number of dogs, which is 42,000 dogs a year used in laboratories in the United States. So let me turn it over to you, and thank you again.
Well, thank you very much, Wayne, for that kind introduction. It's great to be with all of you. And I want to thank you, Wayne, and the Center for a Humane Economy, Animal Wellness Action for all of your advocacy and what you're doing. And it's great to be back with Debbie Gibson as well. It is wonderful news that 135 Beagles are being released from Ridglan Farms. These dogs are getting a second chance at life. And I have been fortunate to see up close and personal some of these very Beagles who have been released, and I have met them in my backyard in Western New York, where they've come to local animal rescues. And it's impossible not to feel joy watching them sniff around outdoors and explore their freedom for the first time in their lives. Despite everything they've been through, they are so happy and they're still so trusting. They're seeing sunlight and grass for the first time, the things that nature intended for these beautiful animals. And what happened inside those walls was anything but natural. And Wayne and his team have done a tremendous job on rescue efforts. And so many, the thousands of people that have been involved in this, they are, the heroes of this effort. And it is terrific news that 135 more are going to get that new lease on life. I'm thrilled with that progress. But the fact is, until we shut off the money spigot that is flowing to these facilities, we will be on a never-ending hamster wheel here. Over the weekend, I attended a protest outside of Marshall Farms, which is the largest breeding facility of its type in the nation, in upstate New York. And I've been involved in public policy and politics in my state for over 25 years. I did not know this site existed. And that's how well it's shielded. I talked to USDA last week. They told us there are, according to their census numbers, there are 16,000 Beagles in that site. I mean, we're looking at perhaps 10x Ridgeland. And, whistleblowers have revealed a house of horrors. And it's Beagles, it's cats, it's ferrets, it's pigs. And we have to shut this money off. We have to end testing as we start on cats and dogs. And I think that is gaining momentum. I mean, since I have joined this fight with so many heroic people, I have been contacted by people from all 50 states. I mean, the power behind this movement cannot be understated. And I'm very proud to be leading a bipartisan fight in Congress with my colleague from Wisconsin, Mark Pocan. And Mark and I don't necessarily vote a lot in Congress together on most topics, but this is something that is post-partisan. This is not a Democrat or Republican issue. We are working together to end all federal funding for the experimentation on cats and dogs. And HHS and NIH guidelines are outdated, and technological advancement has produced better, more effective options that lead to better human outcomes. And we have a tremendous opportunity with this year's appropriations process to ensure that the government can catch up and create policy that is aligned with our values and what's in the best interests of Americans' health. And I'm pleased Secretary Kennedy has also recognized this and has spoken publicly about the need to phase that out. We are building a strong bipartisan coalition of more than 30 lawmakers who have joined our recent letter to HHS and NIH, calling on them to strengthen standards. And today in the Rules Committee, we're going to hopefully make and order multiple amendments to the Agriculture Appropriations Bill that address directly this sort of policy. We've also recently passed the FDA Modernization Act 3.0 out of the Energy and Commerce Committee that cleans up old legal language that forced drug companies to use this very animal testing. It has already passed the Senate, and we have to get this before the full House so we can make it law. We are making strides, but we have to keep pushing. Keep shining a light on the abuse and keep building bipartisan momentum for real change. This is a win-win. It's good for the animals. It's good for the health and well-being of the American public. And I'm going to keep working at this until we can ensure that not one more penny of taxpayer dollars is being spent on painful experimentation on dogs and cats. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to join this fight with you and for all of the cooperation that we've had so far, the sharing of information. But I'm extremely grateful, and this is really positive news today. So I will turn it back over to you now, Wayne.
Congressman Langworthy, thank you so much. And I want to say that I believe that I know you need to go, but before you go, I just want to say I think part of the news here today is 135 more Beagles coming out of Ridglan Farms. The other news is that we now have plans to address this larger problem. And I think for me, this is the most important news of the day is that Congressman Langworthy and Congressman Pocan, with many other Republicans, many other Democrats in both chambers of Congress, we are going to stop the use of dogs and cats in invasive and painful research, principally funded by the United States government, funded by American taxpayers. We don't need it. It's wrong. There are superior methods that we can use to drive the important health outcomes that all of us and all of our families care about. But no longer do we need to victimize dogs and cats and other animals. And I think Congressman Langworthy said it best. Let's start with the dogs and cats, but we must not end there. And Congressman Langworthy, we're looking forward to working with you on the agriculture spending bill, which is coming to your Rules Committee today, later this week on the floor. Next week, the Labor and Health and Human Services Appropriations Bill is going to be considered by the full Appropriations Committee. That's where NIH is funded. And it is certainly my great hope that we have an amendment offered and that it is accepted or it prevails in a vote if someone tries to contest it, to stop NIH funding for research protocols involving dogs and cats. That is the best way to get at Marshall bioresources, and it's tens of thousands of animals that have been bred for this purpose. So, Congressman Langworthy, thank you. I know you need to go. We're really grateful that you made time for us today, and I know we at Animal Wellness Action, our 501c4, are looking forward to working with you and other colleagues of yours to drive some of these national outcomes.
Appreciate it very much.
Thank you. And Debbie, thank you for coming to Ridglan. Debbie Gibson, who is known to all of us who love and enjoy music and performance and art. Debbie, I was a fan before, but knowing of your values, I'm an even bigger, more ardent booster and fan of yours. Thank you for coming to Ridglan. It was a joy to work with you when we were last there a couple Tuesdays ago.
Thank
And
you.
thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here for this most worthy cause. I'm somebody who is I use social media for good and to get information. And it's so easy to be sitting home scrolling and seeing pictures and videos and kind of like disassociating from how painful this topic is, right? So when I got the call from Shannon Keith, hi Shannon, thank you so much for inviting me. I couldn't pass up the opportunity as much as I knew I knew it was going to be difficult to be on site where all these beagles have been in captivity for so long and they get sold for testing. But I couldn't pass up the opportunity to really see for myself what was going on so that I could be a conduit. I could be somebody who can spread this message of the hope we now have, of the progress that is now being made thanks to people like Wayne and Shannon and Congressman Langworthy. It's so incredible to see everyone coming together, as he said, that my manager jokingly said, yes, dogs dogs don't have a party they belong to, right? This is an issue that affects all of us. I think probably most everybody out there has a pet or has had a pet. And when you start seeing these dogs as individuals and not as this mass group with numbers, by the way, one of them has somehow snuck into my home. That's the little guy who was seen with in my arms the day that I was at Ridglan. I really feel like having him now in my home has opened up this conversation with friends, with coworkers. People are horrified. People don't know. They don't know the products they're using have been tested. They're like, they're still doing that. I mean, that's the biggest comment that I hear. I'm like, yes. And by the way, when you're doing your spring cleaning, get Shannon's amazing cruelty cutter app and discard of products that are being used to harm animals. They're being tested. Um, but pulling the dogs out with my own two hands, it was so meaningful and so important, and just more proof that this system is so broken. It's outdated. I mean, the percentage, Wayne, you can tell me, it's like 92% of the time the testing isn't even accurate. Is that correct? If memory serves me right. It's like, I think at this point it's big business and it's a cycle that needs to be stopped. And it's amazing that these conversations are happening. And it's so funny because sometimes people will go to my social media and they're like, oh my God, I can't bear to look at the stuff that's happening to the animals. And I'm like, if you can't bear it, imagine how they feel. It's up to us. These animals have put their trust in us to be their voices. And I'm so thrilled I can be a part of the movement forward, which is finally happening. Like, on one hand, it's a drop in the bucket, but it's not to Benson. It's not to every life that is now being valued. So I'm so thrilled that these 135 Beagles are coming out this week. And let's keep the momentum going. And thanks to you guys in the media for helping to move this issue forward and into the light.
Debbie, thank you. And I think you're right. It's certainly become an amazing cause for the American public. And I only hear one reaction, which is, why are we doing this? Let's do better. These poor, innocent, submissive beagles deserve a better human hand than to be sent into laboratories. So thank you so much. And you've been working with Shannon Keith, the president and founder of Beagle Freedom Project. I just want to again make sure that everyone understands this is a very broad coalition. This is a movement, and the Center for Humane Economy and Big Dog Ranch Rescue negotiated the agreement with Ridglan, but our key partner from the start nationwide has been Beagle Freedom Project. And then I would also be remiss if I didn't mention our fantastic partners in Wisconsin. The Wisconsin Puppy Mill Project, led by Eileen Ribbon, the team at the Dane County Humane Society, led by Pam McLeod Smith, the incredible array of organizations that Eileen has organized through the Wisconsin Federation or Federated Humane Societies. I think 40 different humane organizations in Wisconsin participated with us and took animals. And the last 500 that Shannon and her team helped care for, and then make sure that they were getting the proper treatment and rehab and hand off to rescue partners. I mean, an incredible group in Wisconsin. And then, of course, we worked with the Animal Rescue League of Iowa and the Animal Humane Society in Minneapolis and so many other entities. But Shannon, thank you for your central role in this. And I'm excited to have you give a report on what's going to happen with those 135 animals. I know the Big Dog Ranch Rescue is going to take 67 of them. We're going to take 68 with you. And that, of course, builds on the 1500 previously. But then a lot of people are also wondering about were other animals at Ridgeland? Did they go elsewhere other than to humane organizations? Are there any remaining? So I'd love for you to give us some of your perspectives on all of those matters.
Sure. Thanks, Wayne. And thanks, Debbie. You're such a star. Thank you for everything and for having that little guy in your home and being able to,
He's passed out, by the way.
yeah.
He's very unimpressed by all of us.
Of course he is. Yeah. And as you said, it's so important to actually see firsthand, right? Like look into the eyes of those beagles and be able to experience their journey and what they're going through. That's why I started Beagle Freedom Project 15 years ago with the rescue of two beagles, was when I saw and looked into their eyes and experienced what they were going through. It was so bittersweet. And finally, the world is now actually seeing that with the rescue of these beagles from Ridgeland. It's massive. It's not just national, it's global. I mean, people are going crazy because they finally get to see what is actually happening. And like you were saying again, Debbie, people don't know, and now they know. And now is the time for us to speak out and do something. Like Representative Langworthy is doing something about it politically. It needs to be done. We need to do it legislatively, right? And so we're so excited about that. And Wayne, like you said, these beagles are so just vulnerable creatures, right? On my first rescue, what someone at the lab said to me was, "You know why they test on beagles, right?" And I said, "Actually, I don't know." This was 15 years ago. And this has actually since gone viral and everyone's used it since. And she said, "It's because they're so docile and forgiving." And that broke my heart. And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "We can go into their cage one day, take them out, test on them. The next day, go back, and they are still wagging their tails, and they want us to take them out again." And I was like, wow, that is just incredible that is why they use them. And people always ask us why beagles. That is the reason. Um, Watching their journey in the last couple of weeks, something that at Beagle Freedom Project we do and that we specialize in, we specialized in this for the last 15 years since I started this, is we make sure with our amazing rescue team we have 24/7 support with our fosters and adopters to follow up with them, keep up with their journey with medical care to see what's going on. And we've seen with these beagles such stark differences, right? Like some of them are doing really, really well, right? And coming out of their shells quickly. Some of them are still completely shut down. They're individuals just like you and I. And so we are expecting that with the beagles that are going to come out this week in the next couple of days. And we do have people who are clamoring, and we have thousands of applicants, and we're so sorry that not everybody can get a beagle. There's just not enough beagles to go around. So I do need to say that because so many people want a beagle. Uh, we
And
do,
Shannon, I keep saying, even though people want beagles, hopefully this opens people's eyes to
right.
all the other beautiful animals that are in shelters right now. So if you're thinking of opening your home to a beagle and you didn't get one, maybe
Yeah,
consider another pet because, thousands a day are being euthanized.
so true. And I'm
I
so
just
glad
wanted to
you
jump in
say
and say that. Yeah.
yeah. And we have a sanctuary in Oklahoma called Freedom Fields. It was a laboratory that we shut down a couple of years ago. And we have so many dogs and cats and other animals who we've rescued from laboratories who are looking for a home as well. So you can go there as well. But anyways, in terms of the Ridgeland dogs, we don't have an exact number, and it is hard to determine that because no agency has an exact number on how many dogs still remain inside of Ridgeland. However, I do have an inside source, and we do know that a few hundred dogs were sold to an institution for testing, unfortunately. And that will be revealed in records soon. So we do have that information. And, obviously that's something that we're not happy about. I'm not happy about. And we saw that information recently. Those dogs were sold in May.
Mm.
So we do know that. And, Ridgeland as part of the animal testing pipeline and animal testing in general is something that Beagle Freedom Project has been working to stop. And that's something that is the reason why I started Beagle Freedom Project, along with what Wayne talks about is our ultimate goal, right? Is something that our luckily our government is gearing towards change as well. And as Debbie talked about as well, our public is seeing now, everybody wants that to change. So I'm open to answering questions about that and the information that we have. But we're excited to see that this is a cultural shift now, and everybody's seeing with these Ridgeland Beagles that now is the time to end animal testing.
Thank you, Shannon. And it's sobering indeed to think that animals are still being fed into laboratories, not just from Ridgeland, but principally from Marshall Bioresources, which is 10 times the size of Ridgeland in terms of the number of beagles that are reared there, if you will. And I've said from the start, we're doing the best that we can. We did something we would never think of doing, getting into a financial agreement with Ridglan Farms, but we did so because this model appears to be coming to a close for this company, or this part of its business is coming to a close. But with Marshall Bioresources and some other sellers of beagles and other laboratory animals, we need a policy solution. We are not going to be able to solve the problem. Even if we had more resources, we had more negotiators, we cannot solve this problem through that strategy alone. This is illustrative of the problem. And the animals who came out are the ambassadors for the much larger universe. If we've taken 1,635 animals between the Center for Humane Economy and Big Dog Ranch Rescue, and you think of 42,000 dogs, and you think of 107,000 primates, and then you think of hundreds of thousands of other species, that is not a circumstance that lends itself to a rescue-oriented solution. These animals are ambassadors. And now we as a nation must work to influence lawmakers and executive agency leaders, like the leaders at the National Institutes of Health, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the other alphabet agencies in our public health system that have for too long, been relying on animal testing as a sort of screener for the human health condition. There's been a big movement that people understand with cruelty-free cosmetics. Many different cosmetics and household products in the marketplace. Now you can see a little label that says cruelty-free, means that no animals were tested for those cosmetics. That is widely accepted. It is widely applicable in the marketplace. Here, for the most part, not exclusively, but for the most part, we're talking about the use of beagles for drug development, cancer drugs, heart drugs, pain drugs, bone drugs, Alzheimer's drugs. Our whole health system is built around drugs in terms of palliatives, hopefully cures. We have a $1.35 trillion pharmaceutical sector. 1.35 trillion. This is an extraordinary sector of the economy. And until we worked at Animal Wellness Action and the Center for Humane Economy to pass the FDA Modernization Act 2.0 at the very end of 2022, so just a little more than 3 years ago, there was a federal statutory requirement that all experimental drugs, any new drugs, all the products that are produced by that $1.35 trillion pharmaceutical sector had to be tested on animals. Every drug with multiple animals, dogs, primates, rats, mice, rabbits, often persisting for 5 or 10 years at a cost sometimes for a single drug, just the animal testing of hundreds of millions of dollars. That ended after 84 years, but now we are just now moving into this new domain of using other screening methods. This is why our work to pass the FDA Modernization Act 3.0 to conform federal regulations to the plain language of the statute to eliminate the requirement for animals and drug testing. Any drug that you are taking, basically in the marketplace, any drug was tested on animals. There is no such thing as a cruelty-free drug in the United States and in basically other parts of the world. We are now just starting that process of developing cruelty-free drugs. And the economic circumstance of Ridglan Farms is really a derivative of that work to wean ourselves off of the requirement of testing on animals for experimental drugs, again, which is so central to our health system in the United States. So I just want to emphasize, and I'm going to open this up for questions in a moment. I want to underscore that while we celebrate this impending movement and transfer of 135 more dogs, Beagles specifically, from Ridglan Farms, with a total then of 1,635 dogs moved in the last, month, 6 weeks or so. We have a much larger task ahead of us. And everyone who's concerned about these dogs should be 10 times, 100 times as enthusiastic about this additional work that needs to be done. Because if you care about animals and your work is going to have an impact, it's going to be a major multiplier effect when we pass national policy to address this issue. So my colleague, Joseph Grove, Joseph, why don't we go ahead and take questions from media outlets. I would ask that we're just limiting questions from news media. Again, I want to thank our partners, Eileen Ribbons and others in Wisconsin, for their help. Dane County Humane Society will be the staging site for the animals that are removed, who are removed. Wednesday or Thursday of this week, really the rescue or transfer is going to start a Wednesday with Big Dog Ranch Rescue, and then Thursday with Beagle Freedom Project and the Center for a Humane Economy and Dane County Humane Society and Wisconsin Puppy Mill Project. But Joseph, let me have you orchestrate the question session.
All right, very good. Thank you, Wayne. And any journalist wishing to ask a question, please unmute and turn on your camera. The floor is yours. I will say, while we're waiting for that to happen, that we will provide a video recording of this. Lindsay or Mark, our PR team, can facilitate your receiving that link. It'll take us a little bit to download and upload the file onto YouTube, but we'll make that happen. And I've also put it into the chat Lindsay's email address for any follow-up needs or interviews you may like. But we are certainly happy to take any questions during this call if you will unmute and turn on your camera.
And if people are worried about the traffic management, maybe raising your hand, the hand, that way I'll be able to see who's raised a hand and I can call on you, or Joseph can call on you if you have any questions. Joseph, I do believe that we have issued a press release that was sent out right at the start time, 1:30 Central time. So we've got a resource that's available. And I see that Sarah Lair has raised a hand. Sarah, will you tell us your news media outlet?
Hi, I'm with Wisconsin Public Radio. Thanks for hosting this. How many Beagles do you estimate are still left at Ridglan Farms after this latest purchase?
It's really, as Shannon Keith said, it is impossible to know. I know that Congressman Pocan came out with an estimate recently. That was, I believe, derivative of the USDA, but that was at a prior time. There's obviously been a lot of movement. Obviously, the 1,635 that we've been involved in the transfer of. So it's really hard to know. I'll tell you that, when we started the process, based on our educated guesses, we thought it was about 2,000. But some people thought it was 2,200, 2,300. Shannon has given us information that there was a May transfer to at least one institution. Uh, Shannon, do you want to hazard a guess beyond what I've already framed there?
I think you've done a pretty good job. Yeah, it's really hard to say exactly. DATCAT came in but didn't count the numbers. There's been no USDA annual report recently, so we don't have exact numbers. We just don't want to say because we don't want to say anything that's incorrect. But chances are we'll know pretty soon what the exact numbers are after this week. We're hoping it's none, right? We're hoping that there's going to be no beagles there very soon, but we're just not sure right now.
Is there any follow-up?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other hands?
Shy media members.
I think it was more of a comprehensive presentation from you,
Yes, yes,
Debbie.
yes.
Good. So let me just mention that my email address is wayne@animalwellnessaction.org. Shannon, why don't you provide your email address in case anyone has follow-up for you?
Or it's Shannon, SHANNON at BFP, as in Beagle Freedom Project.org.
Great. And Debbie, we can't give yours out. You'd have too many. Your
Thank you.
inbox would be full.
Time me for
So
Shannon.
yeah, and the press release that we have just issued, it will be on our website at centerforahumaneeconomy.org. I bet it'll also be on Beagle Freedom Project's website. And I think in terms of details, Joseph, that those are the basics. We will, if anyone wants a copy of this or of this press conference, we'll make that available. We'll provide a link to folks with it. But let me, before closing, just ask if there are any other questions from our group of journalists. Well, listen, we want to thank all of you for attending today. We're grateful. And Debbie, Shannon, thank you. Joseph, thank you. Eileen, Pam, thank you all very much for your work on this issue. It's a real joy for me and the rest of our team to be able to work with these amazing partner organizations. And what an exciting statement that we've had such collaboration in our field of animal welfare on this project. Thank you all, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.
you.